I want to first thank everyone for being here, and I know this has been a pretty challenging couple of days in this area, as you can see by the backdrop. Another fire in this community, another difficult set of days and nights with an enormous amount of support and resources and hard work by our local firefighters, our state and federal partners. And as you look around at the aftermath of the Red Apple Fire, it's become clear that communities like Wenatchee and others across the state, across eastern Washington, are in significant wildfire risk and danger. I'm relieved to say that the Red Apple Fire has been over 80% contained and evacuations have been lifted. I know it's been a trying couple of days. I know late last week when it first hit, we were very concerned about the wind. We were concerned about the evacuations and proximity to homes. We were also concerned about how many other fires we have on the landscape currently, and we're just in early July. It's obviously our ability to be able to say we're 80% contained, and this fire we're able to put to rest very soon and move on to the next one is because of the tireless efforts of our local firefighters, our state firefighters, and our federal firefighters who moved quickly and without hesitation in the face of incredible danger to protect the lives and properties of this community. I want to thank the residents of Washington, Wenatchee, Kashmir, and obviously Sunny Slope neighborhood for their partnership. I know these are scary times. I know every fire season now has become a moment of fear for many communities like Sunny Slope. We would not be where we are today without their support, their trust in our firefighters, and their cooperation. The outcome here is also a testament to the readiness and commitment of our agency, our local firefighters, and our federal partners to deploy resources quickly and strategically. The story of this fire is one of resilience. We had a Type 3 team holding down a Type 1 size incident until help could arrive and complete rapid response. Our expanded fleet of air resources proved to be also a difference, showing once again that a strong initial attack with the swift deployment of air resources is the path forward to fighting back against Washington's annually escalating wildfire crisis. I had the opportunity to talk with a number of local fire chiefs right before this and about how important that partnership is. About making sure that at the local level we have firefighters ready to be deployed immediately, and how our state agencies can work quickly to bring in the air resources and other leadership we need. The issue of having a Type 3 holding down a fort until a Type 1 size incident team comes in is not new to this year. We experienced the same thing last year. We will continue to experience that until we ensure that we have the leadership training at all levels, Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3 in Washington State, and frankly nationally, as we see many of our western states are now in a similar crisis that we're having. On air resources, we have bolstered our air resources like no other year before. We know with the significant drought, we know with the early onset of fire season here, and we know that many of the states across the West Coast are struggling with the same challenge we have of early and long fire season. We needed to make sure we had critical air resources available exclusively for Washington State, so when we needed them, we could call on them and we would have them available. We have currently a total of 25 aircraft at our disposal on exclusive contract. This is going to be absolutely essential as we move forward with this fire season. I just can't say enough how grateful I am for the strong partnership we have with our local, state, and federal agencies in being able to get on these fires quickly. Already there have been over 900 fires statewide, with an estimated 140,000 acres burned. This is just shy of the total amount of acres that burned in all of 2019, and we aren't even in August yet. I know when I talk to firefighters, fire chiefs across the state, and they say they haven't seen conditions like this in all of their 35 years of fighting fires this early and this challenging. And our firefighters are feeling the strain, working 16-hour days under incredibly dangerous conditions. We've already seen 3 firefighters injured, one of them my own, severely injured during this fire season. I'm very concerned about the months ahead. With limited resources at the national level and limited resources at the state and local level, Our men and women are getting tired, and they're going to be even more tired. And the risks only get more significant as we head into more hot, dry days. We can and must do everything in our power to prevent these fires from happening in the first place. And this is where the call to our public comes. 90% of our fires are caused by people. We need every single person of Washington State stepping in and being part of this team, this firefighting team, by preventing these fires in the first place, taking on ownership of making sure we don't start these fires and protecting these communities and protecting our firefighters. And that's why today I'm announcing the temporary closure of all recreation and public access on Department of Natural Resource lands in eastern Washington, effective this Friday. We made this decision based on a number of important factors, including current extreme hot and dry conditions, a forecast that shows no meaningful precipitation on the horizon, the current state of our fuel load, and most importantly, concern for our public safety, for the people of Washington State, for communities like Sunny Slope, and for our firefighters. This decision isn't made lightly. We know this is our summers, and we live for our summers in Washington State. It's a time where we can get outdoors and appreciate blue skies and sun. We can appreciate the beautiful landscape that Washington State provides for us. And it breaks my heart that we've reached this point where we have to take drastic action. But the fact is, these fires are too many, and this season is looking too long. And the risks that are being presented to our residents, our communities, and our firefighters is far too great. And it's going to get very, very difficult as the months go by, knowing that other states are facing the same challenges, the same risks, and we have too few resources here in the state and at the national level to help. I'm asking everyone to help us keep our neighbors, our families, our firefighters safe. Please abide by the burn bans we have put in place. Please do not create a spark in the landscape that could threaten entire communities. Please prevent the tragedies we saw in Malden last year, the tragedy of the Cold Spring Fire where we lost a little boy's life, the tragedies we've seen in the Twist Fire where we lost 3 firefighters. Fortunately, reinforcements are on the way. We are grateful for the state legislature stepping up for 1168 and passing the largest, most historic transformative investment in wildfire response, forest restoration, and community resilience. Unfortunately, our fire season has come too early, and those resources will not be available to us until later after this fire season is over. And so that's why we need everybody stepping in and doing their part at this moment in time. We have known for years what resources we need to change the trajectory we're on. Our fire chiefs have known, our firefighters have known. And while we've made huge progress, the impacts of these hot, dry summers, of a changing climate, of our fuel load on our forests and our landscape, make us at huge risk for wildfires. It's going to take all of us to combat these wildfires. We can't do this alone. We owe it to our firefighters, to our vulnerable communities, and to the next generation who need us to prevent the evergreen state from turning charcoal black. I'm calling on every resident of Washington State to please step up and be part of our firefighting force by not starting any fires. Thank you.
Have a deposit on a campsite or anything like that. What happens with that if I reserve something already, or do I get my money back? Does it just go on hold? What happens with that?
That's a great question. I think obviously if you put a deposit on, we're going to find a way to get you your funds back so that you don't lose that money since you aren't able to actually be there.
And with that, can I piggyback off of that as far as how much money is the state projected to lose with closing of the campgrounds and these sites and parks? Do you know? Do you have
I don't have that amount. Obviously, it's based on the number of people that are going out. What I would just say to you is that we spent over $300 million in 2015 in fighting wildfires. And that doesn't even come close to the number of lives we've lost. You can't put a dollar amount on the homes that have been lost last year, You can't put a dollar amount on the loss of lives that we have had in the last 5 years, with over 5 lives lost. This is about making sure we don't lose any more lives. This is about making sure we're also not wasting resources and time on fighting fires when we would much rather be having our firefighters stay at home, be safe, come back to their families, and have our landscapes not threatened and our communities and neighborhoods threatened.
Commissioner, you mentioned the funds from 1168 won't be available this fire season. What is the effective date for those funds to become available to DNR?
So the funding becomes available at the end of July. Some of that funding, obviously, significant amount investment in hiring 100 new firefighters. Those firefighters are going to need training, hiring up. We are expected to have that complete by the end of this year. We also have are be putting order in for new planes. Those aircraft, it's going to take time to do the procurement and purchasing of those. They will be ready by 2022. We are working tirelessly to get our grants and funding out to the local fire districts who are on the front lines and need more resources. They need to be hiring more local firefighters. We need more engine and bulldozer operators. That work, though, takes time. So we're looking at by fall we will be moving aggressively for that. Our forest health work will be happening as that money becomes available, so it'll help on the fuel load. But honestly, we won't be seeing the true effect of 1168 until the 2022 fire season.
Have you had a chance to visit other fire scenes, the Cheweah fire, Cascades fire that are also burning here in eastern Washington?
I haven't yet at this point in time. I'm headed out to Cheweah and also to the one up in Northeast, likely late next week or early next week.
Commissioner, have you done any work as to how long this temporary ban might last? Is there a set of conditions that have to be met for that ban then to be rescinded?
Precipitation. We need to see, right now, we are in extreme fire danger in eastern Washington. It's extreme. And if you look up and down the entire West Coast, other states are also in extreme fire danger. We need us to move from that extreme fire danger to one that is less risk for us to feel safe that we can actually open up those lands again. We didn't make this decision lightly. It's because we have seen an increase in the number of fires started by people on our lands, and the danger has been growing, and it grows as the fire danger and the heat and dry hot weather and wind continues through the next month with no precipitation on the horizon. I think it's also important that if Washington stood alone as the only state in fire danger, it would be a far different situation. But we are not the only one. We've got Oregon right now battling a 360,000 acre fire. We've got fires in California, Arizona, Montana. Every one of them is deploying all of their state resources they have, which is too few to begin with, and calling on federal resources to be brought in. There aren't the resources in the system, and we're in mid-July. I'm used to seeing a list of the fires that we see right now currently in Washington State in mid-August, not mid-July. And I'm nervous and very concerned about what mid-August is going to look like if we're experiencing what we usually see in mid-August now. And to know that we are tapped out in getting resources at the federal level and trying to find them, and we're not alone in that, it means we got to do everything to prevent the fire from ever starting.
Ma'am, I've been coming up here for the past 2 years. Seems like this is, for lack of a better term, the new normal. These extreme conditions, the weather. What can be done? Is there anything that can be done in the future to kind of combat this? Is there a new approach? Is 1168 the answer? What can be done? Because it seems like this is what it's going to be moving forward.
So everybody always asks me, they asked me in 2018, they asked me in 2020, is this the new normal? And I think I had hoped in 2018 that the 2018 1,850 fires, 400,000 acres burned, that was an anomaly. But the reality is 5 out of the last 6 years have been catastrophic fire season. And with the exception of 2019, each year just keeps on getting worse and worse. And we're seeing the season starting earlier and going longer, and we're seeing the geography we're fighting fires much larger. It's no longer just an eastern Washington issue. It's an entire Washington issue, especially when you look at the drought conditions on the coast and in southwest Washington. We know that we're seeing a changing climate and it's having a changing impact on our landscape and our landscape's ability to have enough moisture to prevent those fires from starting in the first place. I would say that I believe that we can't walk into this hopeless, and frankly we shouldn't, and that's why 1168 is there. We have a forest health crisis in eastern Washington. That forest health crisis is also spreading to western Washington, where we're seeing the dying off of our forests in huge scale, thousands of acres. You can go on the Okanagan Wenatchee forest and it doesn't take a scientist to see there's a problem. My son, who's not a forester, looks at it and said, what happened? We have forests that are dying that are literally tinderbox on our landscape, and all it takes is a spark, and what might have been a 100-acre fire 10 years ago now quickly moves to thousands and thousands of acres. We have got to start to heal that landscape and make it more climate resilient to this changing climate, and also restore the health so that forests have a fighting chance. And if we can move at the pace and scale on forest health that wildfire moves, we will have a fighting chance to change the trajectory of these catastrophic fires. But we can't sit back and say we're hopeless and there's nothing we can do. We have to say we're going to do everything to mount the effort and resources and come together as a community, come together as a state to say we're going to ensure the evergreen state doesn't burn down, the evergreen state stays green, the evergreen state doesn't become charcoal black. And then I think the last piece that is really important, too often people feel hopeless. They're like, wildfires are here, firefighters are doing everything they can, there's nothing we can do. And I can't urge enough to the people of Washington State that 90% of our fires are caused by people. And we've seen in 2020 and 2021 a doubling of the debris pile burns. These are people in their backyards, these are people out in the landscape who are burning debris piles. The conditions are too hot and dry now in May and June and July for those kinds of activities. And so we need people to realize that how they used to engage on the landscape doesn't work right now when it's this hot and dry. And them to take that ownership and responsibility. And then I think the last part is communities like the one behind us, that where fire continues to burn and the risks are high. We have communities throughout the state that have higher risk than Paradise, California, and that risk is growing, and the number of communities that are at risk is growing as well. Is being able to take the steps to make those communities more resilient, to make those homes more resilient by creating that defensible space. I mean, we all learned in 15 months how to take steps to create defensible space around our bodies, to be able to protect ourselves, our families, our neighbors, our first responders. We now need to take on that same kind of responsibility in the case of wildfires, saying my home has the ability to be more resilient to fire, and I have a responsibility to take steps for myself and my family to keep safe, and for my neighbors, and for our first responders, our firefighters who are putting their lives on the line for us. I want to say thank you as you come up. I mean, it's a testament to our work. DNR could not be a successful fire agency if it didn't have every one of our local fire districts putting everything they have on the line to respond in a moment's notice. You help us be a better firefighting agency as you know your community, you know the challenges, you know the risks, and the partnership keeps getting better every single year. That's one of the good things about these fires is we learn each time and we improve each time. I'm thrilled about House Bill 1168 because we are going to be moving money down into our local fire districts like yours to ensure that you have the firefighters trained and ready, you have the equipment ready and needed, and we can be even stronger team together. So thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We are very excited about House Bill 1168 as well. As you can see from the landscape behind us here, we really appreciate the leader's intent from Commissioner Franz. Our cooperators' partnerships have never been better. The response from the Department of Natural Resources, Bureau of Land Management, Forest Service, local fire districts, and especially our local volunteers who all came in here. 234 structures threatened, none lost, and that is just a testament to the immediacy of the response from all the resources, the intelligence everybody applied to the tactics and the strategy, and the outcome is incredible. We're very blessed, and our cooperator relationship couldn't be better. So thank you, Commissioner.
I heard you almost lost a Your home was at risk, and there were evacuations in this fire. Besides you helping fight this fire.
Right. So I wasn't actually a part of fighting the fire, but I manage Omi Gardens, which has been around for 92 years now. So not only homes are at risk in these situations, but also history. So this is a garden that was built by a family. Their entire life, over 2 generations, was spent building this place. So we get 20,000 visitors a year. That's an asset to this county, also for tourism, but also just as a historical monument and a treasure that we have in the valley here. And so it's just amazing to see the work that the firefighters did. As I peeked out my bedroom window at night, and you could see it, off in the distance. And by the time I woke back up at 2:30, it's at our doorstep. We're being evacuated pretty soon afterwards in the morning. And it's hard to realize the amount of resources that are lacking. Me being a layman and just part of the community here, I wasn't fully aware of how little resources there were available. So getting those words out and trying to get other people, understanding what real risk is here. Because of the firefighters and the great job they do, we have people staying in their homes, not wanting to leave because they've been protected so well. That could be coming to an end, and so that's something we need to be letting people know. And I experienced that, firsthand, just right down over the ridge here. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.